to be able to evaluate myself. I want to be able to look and say, hey, maybe I could do this better. Maybe I should use less ums.
Correct.
Maybe I shouldn't be swinging my arms around when I'm talking. You know, all those things are things I'm going to want to check out on myself later. That's why I'm having a report. But my name is Alan Flood. I came to her class last semester, my first semester of college. I'm 36 years old. Believe me, when I tell you, my age doesn't keep me from being scared. All right? But one of the biggest problems with being scared is having fear is the fear of the unknown. It's not knowing what's coming. Right? So, if you guys are sitting in this classroom going, man, what's this class going to do for me? That's why I'm here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it can do for you. This little pie chart you actually have sitting right here. This could be your very best friend. You have it in the front of your books. If you don't all have your books, make sure you get them. They're important. All right? And if you can't get the book from downstairs, you know, I understand. Everybody will understand. You want to just at least have the core book, the core on-course book. But if you can get it, it comes with a few extra things in the front of the book. This little chart goes over the different steps of evaluating problems. And it gives you a pie chart. And it helps explain things to yourself. You'll get into that. It is basically knowledge, understanding, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. You're going to hear the word evaluation a lot while you're in this class. Evaluation helps teach you to look at yourself and look at what you're thinking and making sure that you're using the right tools to make sure that you are looking at the problem as a whole problem. Because you might have gone through all the steps of your critical thought process and get down to the bottom and go, wow, what was that? What was I doing there? You know, I went to Wikipedia and found out the moon was made out of cheese. And I believed it, and so now I'm failing astronomy. Because you didn't go to a reliable source. You know, I could go in there and say it's made out of cheese, and until somebody changes it, it's still going to say it's made out of cheese, right? So you want to go to an authenticated source for your information. And along each step, you want to make sure you evaluate those points. Those are things you're going to learn in here. You're going to learn how to set goals. You're going to learn how to think critically. You're going to learn how to evaluate your life. You're going to learn how to make sure that you plan for each course. You're going to learn how to plan for your GPA. You're going to learn how to plan for your next step beyond junior college. Because this is just that. It is junior college. This is your freshman time. All right? You're coming into school. You're brand new to the process. Some of you may have been here a couple semesters maybe. I don't know. But at some point, you're going to leave Eastfield and you're going to go to some four-year university, hopefully. Because that's where the big money's at. The more time, the more money you spend on your education, the more you have to look forward to at the end of it. I don't care if it's because you get the prime job that you want. Maybe you want to be an educator. You can't be an educator in this country unless you have a bachelor's, at least in the state of Texas. I don't know about other states, but in this state, you can't even be an educator without a bachelor's degree, which means you have to go to a four-year university. So if you want to teach other people, that's one thing you have to look forward to. You have to get that bachelor's degree. But if you want to be, I want to be a physicist. I want to have a doctorate. I definitely can't get a doctorate and an associate's degree in college, can I? I definitely have to go to university. In point of fact, though, if I go get that doctorate as a physicist, I have a 50% chance of making $120,000 a year. The employment rate in that field is actually pretty good. It's something that this country is sadly needing. Critical thinkers. We import our critical thinkers. You know, our culture pushes us to Jersey Shore. You know, MTV, that's great. Music is wonderful, but MTV isn't the music television network anymore, is it? No, it's reality TV at its worst. And it just pollutes our minds. There are better things to think about. This on-course is a great way to do that. You're going to learn how to take journals. not really good at doing journals, but doing them can be really important. It can be self-reflective. It's an opportunity to have a conversation with yourself about the important issues in your life. And that's something you guys are going to pick up here. I'm going to tell you, Miss Caskett's a super sweet woman. I really love being in her class. She's sweet, though. You guys could walk over her pretty easy. I'm not going to lie. You could just choose, opt out of a lot of things. But you'd be doing her an injustice, and more importantly, you'd be doing yourself an injustice. Be involved in the class. You know, when group discussions come up, make sure you have something important to say. If you don't, it's okay. Sometimes you just don't have anything to say. But if you come up with a good question, questions are the fundamental part of critical thinking. You can't discover something new if you don't look for it. You can't look for it if you don't have a proper question. If you want to discover the universe, you want to find out why a black hole is a black hole, you have to ask yourself, what is a black hole? And then you start doing all the necessary questions to get to that conclusion. So this is your chance to ask the important questions in your life. You're going to learn DAPS. Date, achieve, personal, positive, specific. Those are steps in creating a good goal. You'll learn about that stuff. Now, this is an opportunity for you guys to ask me questions if you want to. You know, if you have any personal questions, for maybe doubts. When you came into this class, you said, well, I don't have to take 1300, HTC 1300 learning framework. What is that? Well, now you can ask me if you want. Ask me. I'll be glad to answer. Anybody have any questions? Any questions at all? None? Really?
I do.
All right, there you go.
You know this table, this Bloom, whatever, I think it's
Bloom's taxonomy?
Yeah. Okay, I was just talking to Ms. K while ago, and she was telling me, well, you got them in the wrong place. I mean, just me personally, I understand there are keys to being successful if you understand the meaning and the application of them, but I don't think they should be in no certain order for a person, because to me, I feel like I have to analyze what I know before I can apply.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. I'm gonna show you something.
You can apply, but you got just going out.
There are a couple things going on in this book. There are a couple things going on in Bloom's taxonomy. This book is philosophy. I took this class last semester and I discovered philosophy. I've always known about philosophy. I've always been a bit of a philosopher myself. I debate with myself about the meanings of the universe. Is stuff actually solid, or is it liquid, or is it gas, or does that even matter? Everything's rarefied, in my opinion. Rarefied means the dispersion of particles and how dense something is. It's a physics term. Everything links together in the universe. Right? A molecule binds to another molecule. Earth binds to the moon. Your thoughts bind to other thoughts. It's called a cross-domain relationship. Whenever you look at this table and you think, well, it's not personal enough for me. I don't think the order has to be in a certain way. There is some truth to that into a sense. Every person has to take their own doctrine out of what it is they're looking at and apply it to themselves. But I'm going to tell you, this is just one book of about 6 that I could find that is incorporated in that book. When I did my presentation, and you've got permission to show the class that presentation if you want. When I did my presentation, I kind of gave an example of all the books that it would take to equate that 1/2 inch book. It's a stack about this big. A lot of information is crammed in that tiny little space. And it's simplified so you don't have to come up with the ideas on your own. They're already there. And while they might seem kind of awkward at first because it's a bunch of terminology, There's a bunch of things that you have to remember in a certain way. But guess what, dude? You might as well get ready for that anyway. You're in college. They're going to ask you for you to remember facts the whole time you're in college. So start by remembering the facts. Remember that pyramid. And try to apply everything in your life let's think of it more like every problem you come against. That's what Bloom's taxonomy is really about. It's not just your life. Life is a big, broad term, isn't it? It's like a globe. It covers everything. But critical thinking is really about approaching each and every moment like an arrow going to the bullseye. You know? That's what Bloom's taxonomy is trying to do for you. Trying to teach you how to be a better archer. So you can hit your target every time. And those steps seem kind of funny, but it's the root of a philosophy. I used this example in my presentation last semester. A keystone. Do you know what a keystone is? A keystone, is there a dry eraser in here? No? Okay, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. We'll bust out some notebook paper. When you build an arch, there is a stone that goes at the top of the arch. What it does is it applies pressure this way to the stone to hold these bricks tight. And it wedges in there. And as the weight gets pushed down on this from the wall above it, it forces this pressure down to these points and makes that arch the strongest it can be. Without that keystone, this arch would fail. Right? Without proper thinking, proper goal setting, you may very well fail. You might view yourself as a success because, yes, I got my associate's degree. But how many people are in this class? 9? You go to university, there's 400 people in that class. You think that teachers don't have time to come over to sit and go, well, let me explain this to you. No, you don't understand it. Let me explain it. The teacher's not going to have time for that. There's got 399 other people to deal with. So you have to learn how to be a good student now while you got these 2 years of leisure time. Because university's going to be fast, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be thick. But that's not a bad thing. It challenges you. And if we know nothing else from Katrina and Sandy Lake, or Sandy Hook, you know, the World Trade Center, all these catastrophes that happened in our country here recently in the last few years, is that humanity is better when it's harder. So take that principle and apply it to your life. When you choose your classes, choose something that's going to make you better, that's going to challenge you. Take that pyramid and turn it into a philosophy. Turn it into a keystone. Let it bind everything together. Don't question it now. Later, you can get past the terminology. Later, once you understand the terminology, like unreflective, it's part of the stage theory. Right?
I don't know that yet.
I understand. It's part of stage theory. Stage theory is the different levels at which people evaluate information. Your level of critical thinking within a broad range of people. All right? Let me give you an example. Hey, man. You want to go hang out? No, dude, I got homework. Don't you have homework? Yeah, but no, I don't really care. I'm just doing this so I can get a paycheck, dude. I get a grant. I'm going to buy me a car if I don't smoke it all up, right? You know, that guy would be unreflective. He doesn't think to consider that his situation should be different. He doesn't think at all. Then at the opposite end of the spectrum, you have the master. The shortcut to the acronym, I believe it's called, for this is You Can Be Pan. Unreflective, challenged, advanced, unreflective, you can be Pam. Unreflected, challenge, beginner, practicing, advanced, and master. There we go. All right. These are the different levels of your ability to reason through things. At the high end of the spectrum, you have the master. This is a person who's always evaluating himself or herself. And they're always checking themselves to make sure, did I do it right? Now, I don't know a better way to explain that to you than just saying it's terminology. Deal with it. It's harsh, but I'm going to tell you, it's terminology.
I understand it. I mean, just for myself, I mean, it's just, you know, the way I would apply for me. I mean, I understand it.
I'll give you an idea, though. Let's look here. All right? You got synthesis. Under synthesis, you can make poems, plays, articles, books, stories, songs. After you go through the whole process and you do your experiments and whatnot, and you figure out stuff after you applied it and you've analyzed it and all this at these other stages, you can create something with that. When you look at analysis, this is where you break all the information down into analytical information, like a graph. You know? When you look at application, this is a list or an experiment. Alright? You can experiment with a problem. You can say, okay, if I do this, this happens. If I do that, that happens. This little chart here will help explain things a little bit just by looking at the words. I know it seems like, wow, man, I think this should be over here. But start thinking of it in broader terms, and there's a chance it can make more sense. Do you have an example of what it is that is difficult for you? How you, what thing came out of order for you?
I mean,
like, when did you have this epiphany?
I mean, it didn't. I mean, like I say, it's not that it's out of order. But my way of thinking, it may not be. This is just a box.
Okay, I have a question.
And it's created to get you thinking in a way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? It's to train you to think within this key.
Absolutely.
Okay. But me personally, I don't think in the box. I think I use things to my best of my ability to apply.
Okay.
Not the way, okay, this is a way for you to.
I have a hard truth here for you.
Okay.
All right. I'm 36. So when I say this, please don't take offense to it. But how old are you?
I'm 49.
You're 49 years old. And what great accomplishment have you come to in your life, besides maybe having a family or something, as far as reaching your goals? What great goal did you reach in your life? You're here at junior college, so it tells me that late in life you decided you need to do something different, right? Okay? And you can't go to the doorstep of knowledge and knock on the door and then back off and say, nah, I don't want it. This is your chance to change. You've been doing things your way for 49 years, right? You say 49? You've been doing it your way for 49 years, and where has it gotten you? I don't know what your life is like. But I know you don't make 6 figures a year, do you?
Nope.
Nope. I would like to make 6 figures a year. I'm going to be honest with you. Truth is, it's $10 an hour. You ain't going to cut it anymore. All right? $10 an hour is like $5 an hour was when I was in high school. Some 20 years ago. Something like that for me. 17, I guess. 18. I don't know. Yeah, 18. 95. 18 years. So, I know from personal experience, I tried to do things my way my whole life. And now I'm 36, fixing to be 37 in April. I've got 2 kids that I ran into because when I was younger, I didn't think things through. I knocked up a girl. Then I found out she cheated on me, and I said, you know what? I'm out of here. You know? Screw you. Deuces, I'm out. Why? Because I ran. I was scared. I didn't challenge it. I just accepted it. Then 5 years later, I found out on MySpace, which MySpace, I didn't even know what MySpace was at the moment. My friend introduced me to it one night whenever he decided that I hadn't been in a relationship in 5 years and I needed to be in one. I said, no, I don't. He said, yeah, you do, because she's on her way right now. You know, she's coming here right now. Her name's Carrie. I wasn't so enthused about her being wonderful. I didn't know who she was, so he took me to MySpace. I got on MySpace. He said, well, here's your picture. She had these big McDonald's eyebrows that she drew on, right? And like Cocker Spaniel hair. And I was like, she's a little rocker chick. I'm a country boy. I was like, dude, I appreciate the notion. I think I'm going to go over here, you know? And then he said, you know, don't judge her too fast. She's a good person. And I've always considered myself open-minded. I try to be. So I tried to go ahead and look further into this person. And he said, go down to her friends list and you can find out who she hangs out with. And yeah, you know, people are who they hang out with, right? You know, you hang out with drug head, you're going to be a dope head, you know, just like the dope head. You hang out with the scholar, you'll be Socrates' Plato. You know? You'll learn from the scholar, the master himself. And you too one day will be a scholar, and people will remember you in history, possibly. So I went down to the list, and I went to her friends, and right there, number one on her friends list was my ex-girlfriend. It's like, oh my God, dude, I dated her. At one point, man, I thought I had a kid with her. That's crazy. He's like, yeah, click on her picture. I was like, okay, click. Boom, there was my son.
You got blood test?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a blood test.
Okay.
But don't think for a minute I doubted it as soon as I saw it. Not for a second that I doubted it as soon as I saw it. It was like looking in a mirror at 5 years old. It was crazy. And so I went and had the test done because I wasn't sure how our relationship was going to be. I want to make sure I could be in my son's life. But I went from being a couch surfer, point to point, not caring, not worrying about where I'm going to be. I took care of my mom. I went to work. I got money. My mom would call me and she'd say, hey, can you lend me $300? I overdrafted my bank. So in a way, I kind of had to be a parent to my mom. I'm sure a lot of you may have to do that with your parents. Or maybe your siblings. You know, because your parents are working all the time. I don't know. I don't know you. But at that point, I was thrust into life, into responsibility. I got married 9 months later. I met her in January, met my son in January, and we were married in June. So I wasn't about to not be in my son's life. I didn't consider her feelings, though. I didn't make those long-term connections. And that's really kind of what this whole class is about. It's about growing up. It's about preparing yourself for college. It's about making those long-term connections. Putting things together. I got married for children. Now I'm struggling in my marriage. But because I learned how to reason this last semester, we're actually doing better. I have post-traumatic stress disorder. It creates, I'm not getting into details, but it creates intimacy issues for me. When we try to be intimate, sometimes I go into convulsive shock. All right? It's anxiety. It's something I can't avoid. But I gained some tools to start coping with it. I found out about the counseling centers they have here in school. Me and my wife were waiting for the first couple of weeks to get over, and then we're going to go to the counseling center together. All right? Use this opportunity. Use Ms. Casca because she's a wonderful tool for you. That book is a wonderful tool for you, and you guys can be successful in college. I promise you. So, thank you for letting me take up your time. I appreciate everything you guys have contributed. Are there any more questions before I wrap this up? No? I know I rant a lot. I have a big mouth. I like to talk. I can't help it. That's why I want to be a teacher. Because I feel like I have a lot to give, and I feel that each of you have something to give to whatever field you're going to. You all look like people who like to make good eye contact. Like you have something going on behind your eyes. You know, there's more there to you than meets the surface. So, you guys did good. Good luck. Enjoy Miss Casca's class. Practice. Start now. Preparing your presentation. If she hasn't given you the presentation paper, I would say give them the presentation paper if it was me. And start now. And getting ready for your presentation and start. And because what's going to happen is as you're looking at your presentation information and you're looking at your on-course information, you're going to start putting two and two together. You're going to do cross-domain relation. You're going to take something from history and apply it to this class. You're going to take something from philosophy or psychology. You're going to apply it to this class. What classes do you have?
History, English, speech, and another class.
So you have
Oh, this
speech,
class.
English,
Yeah.
you have a critical thinking class, you have history. Right? Those are all really great things to feed off of when you're getting ready to do your presentation. You got historical reference to ideas. You got English, which teaches you how to speak and write properly. You're taking speech, which teaches them how to present that presentation. You know, so you can use cross-domain relation this semester for the presentation you do at the end of the semester. So start thinking about what ideas you would like to present using Bloom's taxonomy. Is that what the presentation is going to be doing? You're already learning Bloom's taxonomy, so this is something you're already doing. And as you go through and you see cross-domain relation, you start going, oh, wow, okay, yeah, that makes sense because I learned this over here and I learned that over there. Cross-domain relation really helps me do my presentation, but how can I make those connections? And how can I show that in my presentation? So as you learn new ideas in this class, you can learn how to implement your information from your other classes. Okay? I won't take any more of you guys' time. Thank you. You guys have a great semester. Okay?
All right, let's get out on that.
Your voice helps you become a better reasoner. You know, it's easy to say, well, the color's red because the color's red. All right? But red is actually absence of blue and green. If you look at it from a cathode ray tube. All right? Or you could say, what's the opposite of purple? What makes it purple? Red, blue. Right? And if you imagine red and blue, purple right here, directly opposite of purple is yellow. But you didn't know that purple had an opposite if you haven't taken color theory. This is sort of the kind of things that you're going to discover in university and college, even here in this college. It's just a 2-year college. Right? But while you're here for these 2 years, you're preparing for the next maybe 12. Depends on what you want to do. You want to get your doctorates? You can go all the way through your master's degree plan in like 6 years and work on your dissertation for the next 6 just to get your doctor's degree. So in order to do that, you have to be a self-challenging, self-motivated, goal-orientated, critical thinker, reasoning and finding your way in the world and in college. But the things that you learn aren't just academic in this class. It's not just about college. It's about how to reason through a problem. Can't figure out how you're going to pay your bill. Well, let's look at the variables. That would be your knowledge. You're discussing that right now, right? Gather up your knowledge. Okay, what do I know? I've got $4.56. You know, my mom over here, she might be able to give me $20. You know, you try to figure out how you're going to make this work. It gives you steps on kind of how to go through those problems. You got DAPS, which is something you're going to learn about. You date your goals, you make sure your goals are achievable, you make sure they're personal to you so that they mean something to you, so they have weight and value and consequence if you don't achieve them. Once you make it, and then you find the positive aspects to those goals, and you make sure they're specific. You make sure you give it a date. This is when I want this to happen. Right here. Right now. Alright? Because if you don't hold yourself to any standard. Like if the teacher said, I want you to turn in your math homework. When? I don't know, when you feel like it. You would never turn in your math homework. You'd be like, I don't really feel like it. I don't want to. You know? I've experienced that. Everybody's experienced that. It's called procrastination. But by dating your goals, you put yourself in a position where you're less likely to procrastinate because you make it a point. You make sure that it's achievable, something you can do. These are the sorts of skills you're going to learn in this class. So, I don't know about you, but myself, I want to be a teacher. I want to teach mathematics. I want to teach physics. Mathematics and physics. I'm in developmental mathematics. Kind of chose the wrong field, maybe? Or did I challenge myself? I know when I was in high school, I was good at math. Even though I only took pre-algebra, I used to help my teachers who were still going to college with their college level mathematics. I got myself put because I was lazy. Just call it what it is. I was lazy. I had dysgraphia, I had dyslexia. Dysgraphia is different from dyslexia. When I'm trying to translate information from one place to another, or I'm reading from a book, and then trying to look at a source, by the time I read it and get to my source, I've lost it. Every time I read it and I try to write it, I've lost it. Or if you're speaking to me, and while I'm writing what you're speaking, I lose what you're saying right now. That's what dysgraphia is. I have attention deficit disorder, dysgraphia, and dyslexia. But last semester I made A's, 2 A's, and a B. I missed my third A by a point. Could have had a 4.0. But I'm not going to beat myself up over that. That would be the inner critic. That's something else you're going to learn about. I'm not going to beat myself up over that. I'm going to say, well, what did I learn? I learned how to write papers. In history class, I was getting C's in my papers for the first little while. Then by the end of it, I pulled out two perfect 10s. Perfect 10 is the same as 100. I was so proud. It's a little self-victory. And look for those self-victories. Set those goals, make those accomplishments, and be victorious. And that victory will give you a spur in the ass to keep going forward. I used to be a drug addict. My teeth are all messed up. I try not to show them too much. I'm not going to show you now. My teeth are all messed up because I did a lot of dope, methamphetamines. I used to reason to myself that if I eat it, and I don't smoke it, I don't shoot it, I don't snort it, I'm not really a dope head. You get these crazy philosophies in life. What this class is about is replacing those philosophies. When you look at your stuff, I had to explain this to another class member in her previous class, the one I spoke to her 8 o'clock class. And he said, I don't think these terms apply to me. I don't think Bloom's taxonomy, when I look at things, I don't think that they should be in that order. I think they should be in a different order. Okay. Let's take that on face value, right? How old are you? 28. How about you?
19.
19? What about you? 18. All right, so we got 19, 18. Most of you are right out of high school, right? And even a 28-year-old person over here. That's relative. That's relatively old to you. She's not old. She's 28. She's not even 30 yet. At a time when people are living to 70 plus, she hasn't even reached halfway mark. She's at 1/3 of her lifespan, and that's if she dies at 70. You know? So when you look at your life, know that you've been doing things your way your whole life. And that while these might not make sense to you when you first come into the class, if you really do your journaling, and you really do your self-investigation, and you really do your self-evaluation, by the end of this class, this stuff will make a lot more sense. Then the terminology can become a philosophy. It inspired me to go on and take philosophy after this class. Oh, I've always been kind of a philosopher. That was a really horrible use of the word, right? I've always been a philosopher. I've always thought about things in relation to other things. I've thought about people's emotions. I try to be considerate and courteous. It was practically beaten to me as a child. Better say yes, no, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. For a long time, I didn't understand why. You know? And then you have people whose kids just say, yeah. And they say, why do you make your children say yes, sir, no, sir? Because it teaches them about hierarchy, about life. This stuff can teach you about hierarchy about life too. It uses interdependence. Do you know what interdependence is? You? You know what interdependence is? Okay. Explain what interdependence is. I'm not challenging you, I'm just asking.
It's your level of relying on somebody else.
Exactly. It's a shared relationship. It's not just relying on somebody and just leaning on them. But it's leaning on them when you need to lean on them and holding them up when they need to be held up. It's giving them an idea and then getting their feedback off of that idea and then going, wow, I hadn't even considered that side of the equation. You know, interdependence. It's a great skill. It's a teamwork skill. And study groups are a great way to do that. Joining clubs. Like there is a speech club I'm fixing to go down to right after I get done with this presentation. That's another thing. I took philosophy because of this class, and ironically I took speech because of this class. Because I realized how important it is for me to learn to speak my voice. Even if I'm not going to present in front of 20,000 people. I'm not going to go to the new football stadium here in Dallas or whatever, and I'm not going to stand up there and go, hey, yeah, look at what I got to say, right? I'm going to be teaching to small groups if I teach. But it also helps me build relationships in the workplace, with my children. It teaches you how to bring the thoughts from your mind, develop the vocabulary that it takes to give this idea to someone else in a way that's so beautiful, they want to wrap it up and take it, make it their own. You guys have an opportunity here to do that for yourselves in the next 2 years. Some of you may be here 3 or 4. I'm going to be here maybe 3 or 4 or 5. Because I plan on taking as much of my mathematics here at the inexpensive level as I can before I go to university. I want to pay for all the higher level physics classes at university. So I might be here for 3 or 4 or 5 years. But I'm not going to waste that 3 or 4 or 5 years. I'm going to get all my math as I go through the process, but I'm going to try to get a second degree in education. So I have a mathematics degree, I have an education degree, associates. I can take those with me to university. They'll look good on my resume. They'll look good on my application for university. It may get me scholarships for university. Apply yourself, and you'll see all sorts of rewards. Does anybody in this class have any questions about the course or about your fears? It could be anything. Just raise your hand. And if I haven't explained it, if you have any questions or concerns about what's going to happen, I can react.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna fail this class because I failed it the first time, and I don't want to fail it again.
Did you take it with Miss Casper?
No, I took it with Miss Applewhite. I did everything, and I got a 96 on my exam, and I still failed. And I felt like two classes or 3.
A semester?
Yeah, last semester. So I don't know. I don't have confidence. That's why I'm so hard on myself. So.
It's a big hit to the self-esteem in there.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated from first grade to second grade. Got to second grade and I found out I couldn't read. They sent me back to first grade. I went from my first freshman year, where I skipped out 38 days in one semester. I showed up 5 days in the entire semester. 38 days in a row was my longest streak, though. And that was in Colorado. After I'd run from violence down here, I was constantly fighting. And they told me that they were going to put me in jail, and they gave me deferred adjudication. As long as I didn't get more trouble, the next day I went out and smashed the kid. So they were going to take me to jail. I ran to my dad's house in Colorado. I got to Colorado and I just repeated the same habits. I ran away from home. I got myself kicked out of school. So I had to repeat my freshman year then too. And that second freshman year, I got myself into remedial classes, which restricted me. And by the time I got to my 12th grade year, I kind of started getting an idea that I wanted to be more than who I was. But I didn't know how. My parents didn't know how. They were uneducated people. It's not necessarily any fault of their own, but everybody makes their mistakes and comes up short sometimes. I don't hold it against them. They did the best with what they had, with the skills they were taught. If you're coming up short in your class, it isn't because of an inadequacy in you. You made a 90 on one of your papers, one of your projects, right? That tells me you're capable. The best thing you can do at this point is evaluate what brought you to the failing point. And don't look at it as this horrible, unredeemable thing about yourself that's just going to squash you like a bug. The weight and the anxiety that comes from that is literally depressing. You guys ever seen that joke? Hey, buddy, old pal, I get a real kick out. Get to the point. What's wrong? You feeling irritated, a little depressed? It can be really depressing. It can hold you down. So don't let it hold you down. When I got my 70s, you know how I fixed my problem? I went to the teacher. And he gave us an assignment that didn't require me to write pages worth of essays. He wanted like 2-sentence answers. But for each question, out of like the 10 questions I had to do, I wrote a page. And then I said, here you go. Those aren't turned in as essays, right? I'm not going to get credit for writing these as essays. It's a free opportunity for me to have you evaluate my papers. Would you mind doing that for me? Would you help me evaluate what I did here that got me a C so that I can make that A and get my 4.0 that I want? I didn't make my 4.0, but it wasn't because I didn't try. And he showed me what I did wrong. So here you get a fresh start. You're taking the class again. So I want you to take the negativity that comes from failing the class before and just throw it right out that window. I don't care if it shatters the window or not. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, just get rid of it. And this is a whole new rose blossoming in front of you. And it's your responsibility to make sure that rose bush gets the right nourishment. You're the rose. Be the rose. Blossom and show everyone how beautiful you can be. And I promise you, if you take that perspective, you're going to find out things about yourself you didn't even know could exist with you. I know you. So, just look at me. I'm a former drug addict. I was a couch surfer. I found out that I had a child after he was 5. I was a couch surfer. I didn't care about responsibility, and all of a sudden I had a 5-year-old kid. And guess what? He came with a 2-year-old little brother. And I met his mother that night, I found out. And 9 months later, we got married. I married for the wrong reasons. So that created strain on my relationship. But like I told the last class, it was things that I learned in this class about goal setting and critical thinking and speaking and journaling. Even if I don't always write it down, I promise you, I journal up here all the time. It's called self-reflection. You don't need a piece of paper for that. You can use a recorder. I use it. I just recorded an hour-long lecture to myself about rarefication, a subject that's in physics that I haven't even gotten to yet. All right? But I made sure, well, it's not that important. You know what a recorder is, right?
Yeah.
Looks like an MP3 player with a little microphone on the end of it, right? Yeah. You can get one for about $50 that'll hold 8,000 hours if you put a 16 meg memory card in it, SD card. All right. Now, granted, at 8,000 hours, your quality is pretty low. So I reduced mine to about, I have an 8 gig card, so it's half that, 4,000 hours. All right, and then you divide that by me increasing the quality to its best level. And then finding out time wasn't long enough, so I dialed it down to about 150 minutes. All right. At 150 minutes, I can record something, put it on my computer, and move on to the next thing. But you can use that for doing your journals. I don't know about you guys, you might have a hard time doing your journals. You go in, you go to do your journal, next thing you know, you're like, what was I going to say? Does anybody in here have attention deficit? Attention deficit disorder? Right there, your teacher does. She's your teacher. Does that make her flawed? No. In point of fact, did you know if you have attention deficit disorder, you have a higher propensity to have a higher IQ than Brittany? You should have a harder time getting your thoughts out of your head. Right? If you use a recorder, you can spit out all that crap that you just need to get out of your head into the microphone, and you can filter it later. Oh, that was total crap. But that was awesome. You know? So you can use a recorder to help you get your journals, and then you can write them down and turn them into class. I think they're worth like up to 37 extra points or some such thing.
Yep, absolutely.
That's just for writing on a piece of paper, like a page. I did 10 pages for free in history. I promise you it'll help me, and these will help you too. So, then you can use them for your lectures. You know, the obvious use, record your class, listen to it later. While you're doing dishes, you're cleaning your room, you're riding a bicycle, whatever it is you're going to do. Then you got the other one. Just like your journals, you can record your thoughts for, let's say you have to turn a history paper. You got this great idea about Tecumseh and his relationship with the Indiana Valley, right? And the Indian nation, how he united them all together, and this is a brilliant idea, and it's only 30 seconds long, but it's 30 seconds of the best thought you've ever had in your entire life. And you want to keep it. Pretty cool. See how easy it was? So, there are ways that this class is going to help you. Just got to look at it, you got to reflect on it, and be positive. And don't carry extra baggage with you, because you're going to pick up enough baggage on your own. Life does that to you. Bills get hard, your kids get sick, your mom dies, your dad dies. You lose a cousin or somebody. So, financial aid, how many are in the first semester? Okay, a little up news, maybe take a little stress off you. Financial aid starts to hit between the 4th and the 12th. It starts to hit at the 4th of February. And it goes through to the 12th of February. Now, financial aid, people who are in their first semester, may actually see their financial aid come a little later than the 12th, but it will be somewhere near the 12th at the outside. Okay, so it's a little stress off. Guys, I hope I didn't take up too much of your time. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, let me know, or let Ms. Casca know, and she can, if you want me to come back, I'll come back. This is something I'm looking forward to doing for the rest of my life, so I'm not afraid to talk. If you see me in the halls and you need to say something, maybe something bad's happening in your life, you maybe need some advice, just to pick me up, or just someone to listen. As much as I talk, I promise I do listen. You guys have a good one.
Let's give him a hand, guys. Thank you.